like the third time. So because we tried to do the show 3 times, and this is actually the third time that I just opened the show because we had technical glitch or something. So I'm Nick, Bitcoin Live DB, and my good friend Sid or Siddharth back in the show to talk about the bigger picture. Welcome, Sid.
Hey, nice. Happy to be here again.
Yeah, so right, we have a lot to cover. This will be part 2 of the Stargate
Yeah.
series, the Sumerian Stargate series. So we're gonna dive into that, but before we do that, we're gonna do a quick sort of market recap about Bitcoin, how Bitcoin is doing at the moment, before we sort of jump into all the stuff that we're gonna talk about.
Okay. So to start with, I hope everyone saw how Congress grilled Gary Gensler. That just makes me so happy. So I think the way Congress is doing things, it looks like they're gonna fire Gary Gensler. And Gary Gensler was the person who was stopping crypto to grow. So I think I see good things coming in the future, and they have to approve ETFs because they have no reason to reject it anymore. So probably by
Definitely, yes.
January or something, we will get all the ETFs approved. That will shoot up the price of Bitcoin. So I am expecting by
And we're gonna get
end of
a big wave.
yeah, I think by May we will see 100K Bitcoin.
What, this year?
And no. So end of April next year.
Oh, okay. I thought that's extremely bullish.
Yeah, this and then 2025 we can see to 200,000 if nothing goes wrong. It
Wow.
depends on the election, who wins the election. If Biden come back, then yeah, we won't see any big thing. But if someone else comes in, we are seeing 200K.
Yeah, and we talked a little bit, or I mentioned it last time that we talked. I think at the end of the show that next year will be like a crazy year. Like we got AI, we possibly got war, escalation of war. We got the
Yeah,
most crazy election ever with all these candidates. There's a
yeah,
lot of pro Bitcoin candidates also. So, and then of course you got the halving, you got CBDCs being implemented, you got
yeah,
alien revelations. That's why we were here. The disclosure. Yeah,
yeah.
that's going on.
And then one more thing, XRP is trying to make deals with the banks so they can adopt to XRP protocol to do bank transactions. If that is successful, then things will be so different. Like really, you can't even imagine. The XRP price could go to $10, $20 if that
Well,
happens.
my brother Jan is like a huge XRP fan. And I think his expectations are even even more bullish. But I
No,
think with 10
look,
or 20, he would be jumping up and down in joy. Yeah.
yeah, but this is something if everything goes to the plan. Otherwise, things gonna stay like XRP gonna stick to $1, $2, and Bitcoin is stay around 60, $70,000.
Yeah, and then just to linger on XRP for a little bit, because there are so many XRP haters, and I'm also sort of at least on the fence on XRP.
Hmm.
But there are many people also within XRP, and like David Schwartz. I mean, that you can actually make a case that XRP is doing something good. I'm not sure what your position is on XRP. When you sort of
Look,
look at it in the
the
broader picture.
point is, any of the token goes up, it will take the whole market up. If
Yeah,
they adopt to blockchain technology, so it's not going to be like every bank or every organization is adopting XRP. Things will be different. Some will be adopting Ethereum, some will be adopting layer 2, like Polygon. Shibarium is doing waves because they have already a lot of holders. So we will see the combination of it. I know XRP have issues, but I don't see it in a bad way. I think eventually they will be doing something cool unless they decided to go to the CBDC path. Even with that, using blockchain technology, it will open up market for a lot of people because a lot of people don't want to use CBDC, so they will go towards decentralized tokens or decentralized blockchain.
yeah. So it will definitely be positive for the price. I've no doubt about it, and there will be some other tokens, the ISO tokens, of course, and probably
Yeah.
many others, and also the decentralized ones like Digibyte and Decred. I really have a good hope for,
Yeah.
and perhaps privacy coins too. But do you actually think that XRP in itself, like what they're trying to accomplish, is a good thing or a bad thing? Like this,
I
not
think it's good. It's my opinion. They are trying. Okay, so understand there are no good guys in the world. So everyone is bad, but everyone is trying to do their best. So whatever they're doing, I think it will be a net positive for us, like crypto holders or who like blockchain. And even if I'm saying like even if they go to the route of CBDC, it will be a good thing for everyone.
okay. Okay, that's a, but do you think they're pro decentralization XRP
No,
or
they are not. They are
no?
not.
Okay, okay,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
that's sort
they
of
are
my
not.
that was my actually my question. But
Okay, yeah. Yeah, they are not pro decentralization, but I'm just saying because of their effort, people will go more towards decentralization because nobody want to be controlled. There will
okay,
be a huge market of the people who will be controlled, but then there are always rebellious people. And this time we are not talking one country, we are talking the whole world. So in the world,
yes,
it's very hard to control everyone, right? They
yeah.
always find a way.
Yeah, and of course, Fed now is also sort of gaining traction, and that will be rolled out. And some
Yeah.
people say that XRP will be sort of play a crucial part in sort of all the CBDCs that are being rolled, or Stellar, right? The cousin, XRP's little cousin.
Hmm.
Uh, so, well, anyway, we'll probably come back to that in one of our future shows because it's part of the bigger picture. I think we can actually fill a whole show on that at some point.
Sure, yeah. Yeah,
Um,
I think we should, yeah.
yeah, but before we do that, there's of course really big news in the world of disclosure and aliens and UAPs and whatever you want to call it. Um, about 30 or some say even 50 whistleblowers coming forth and talking to people of Congress and the DoD and other places and giving testimony that's backing up the story of David Grusch.
Mhm.
Um, how do you see that news, and what did you think of it?
So, to be honest, I was expecting that because I had trust on David Grush, on his story, on his personality. The reason for that, no one was able to debunk him. And the best debunking they come up with that he had PTSD, which is very common in military people. So since then, I knew people will come out, and it's not just David Grush talking to the reporters. He was talking to the Congress, and he have whistleblower protection. So this was expected, and it was also expected that the people who will come out and certify his story will not reveal their name because they're I think they're still working for the government and they don't want to lose their job, so they are staying secret. They are staying away from the public eye. So this was pretty much my expectation, but what I wasn't expecting that around 50 people will come out and testify for
Yeah,
his story. Yeah, because I was expecting 2 3 more people, but 50, that's amazing. Now it's
yeah.
irrefutable.
And some of these people, because they work at private contractors, but also for the government in different, different levels. And some of them, I don't know how many, but some of them actually have first-hand knowledge, like not second-hand, because that
Yeah.
was one of the things that was raised as an objection to David Grush's testimony, that he heard it through the grapevine, and that he didn't have like first-hand knowledge of any of this. But
Yeah,
but
but
some of these testimonies are actually first-hand.
yeah, but even with David Gray, it wasn't just a second hand because he was in charge. He
Yeah.
had access to the files, so he read the files. So that's not second hand. He didn't hear from it. He just saw the whole information in the military or wherever he was working for intelligence department, right? So he saw
Yes.
that in their database, all the information. So it's still, I think it is still the first hand knowledge. But now we have what we heard because it's a rumor that all the a lot of the people who testified are the one who actually were the part of the recovery project and who recovered things. So
And
I'm
reverse
expecting,
engineer.
yeah, so I'm expecting more proof to come out. And recently, because of all the news, people missed one important news, that Pentagon released 10 more videos of UFOs.
Oh, wow, I missed that completely.
Oh
Okay.
yeah, and one of them is of submersible.
Yeah.
I will try to find it for you and then I'll send it to you. But the thing is that that's a new video which is very similar to Gimbal and Tic Tac, but it's more clear. Anyway, the object is moving. It submerges, goes under the sea, disappeared for a second, came out, and then start flying again.
Yeah, because these objects are transmedium, as they
Yeah,
term it, so they can move without any loss of speed between water, air, space.
exactly. But what the thing is that we heard those stories, we never saw it. But Pentagon released that video, and now we can see it that it is actually doing what they were saying.
Okay, wow. So, the article that I just showed is a really good article from Michael Shermer.
Yeah,
If I say his name correctly, I'm gonna double check. Michael Shellenberger. Sorry.
Schellenberger. Yeah,
Yeah. So I link it down below in underneath this video for you to read. It's definitely worth a read. And now we're gonna jump into a little bit of video, which is definitely worth watching. I have to just pick the right one. That's this one, and it highlights what it highlights is that the amount of evidence and the amount of testimony that has been given, because a lot of people have no idea the amount of the evidence that has been given.
yeah.
It basically reports that shortly after David Grusch gave testimony to Congress, a lot of people were wondering how much credence could be placed in his testimony. And the oft-reported rant from the debunkers and skeptics has been that he's got no evidence. There's nobody to back up his case. And this has been the most disingenuous, misrepresentative series of assertions by people who call themselves skeptics. And they haven't understood the significance of what the Inspector General of the intelligence community, Thomas Monheim, did when he reported to Congress that Mr. Grush's allegations were credible and urgent. And that's a direct quote, credible and urgent. And the reason why the Inspector General made that finding that they are credible and urgent is what I've been saying for weeks and what Michael has underlined in this excellent article. He talks about the fact that there are dozens of witnesses who've come forward, either to the Congress, the Senate Intelligence Committee, possibly also the Senate Armed Services Committee, the House Permanent Select Committee for Intelligence, and they have been giving evidence now for up to 2 years. Hours and hours and hours of oral testimony, which has been recorded by congressional staffers, taken down in deposition as oaths, under oath. If these people are lying, then they face criminal prosecution. David Grusch faces 5 years in jail if he has misled Congress. And the reason why he's so confident is because he hasn't, because he's got the backing of 40 plus witnesses.
So I think this piece was very important to sort of highlight for people who are sort of new to the topic or who are not, as well read into it as we are. This is actually from Need to Know, which is a show with Bryce and Ross Coulthart, who's like a world-renowned journalist who worked, for years on 60 Minutes, breaking, huge stories. So this sort of highlights the pedigree and the quality and the amount of testimonies and evidence. And like you said, these are also now testimonies from people who actually worked on the projects, right? They're still anonymous, these people.
Yeah.
So we don't know who they are because they fear for what you call it, pushback or basically losing their job, losing their career, losing their reputation, losing their lives. Losing, we don't exactly know what their, what the dangers are for coming out and testifying in public about these things. But if any of this is true, right, you can imagine that, the stakes are extremely high, like, so high that we actually can't imagine what really is at stake here, right?
Yeah, I heard one more thing, that somewhere in Pentagon or intelligence services there are big high post generals who don't want this information to come out because they believe these UFOs are being flown by the demons, which is weird. but because they're like very Christian inspired people, believe they have like Bible studies and everything, but and then they fear that there are demons in those UFOs, and that's why they don't want that to come out. But my question is, even if they are demons, so what? Let the truth come out.
True.
Even if they are demons, that's fine, people can take it. Most of the people are religious, and most of the people believe in demons, they know they exist. So even if they are, so what else? It's not going to change anything. Actually, it's going to strengthen the belief of the believers that, oh, if there are demons, then there must be angels and God. So
Yeah.
let the information come out, don't hold it, we can take it, we are
And
not
of
kids
course,
anymore.
whatever is really going on here, I mean, everybody sees it through their own cultural lens and their upbringing and background, which sort of, colors this whole issue, which,
Yeah, but
our
that's
interpretation.
no, I'm just saying that's fine, and people have interpretation, but no one have a right to hold the information. If it's because all these people working in Pentagon or any other government department, they are paid by
Yeah.
the taxpayers of the US
Yeah.
citizens. So it's their job to give us information, not us. Like
Yeah.
we both are not American citizens, but it's their job to tell their people that this is going on and you should know. So if they are holding that information from the people who employed them, basically that's a treason, they should be persecuted.
Yeah, because that sort of circles back to what I just said. Because imagine, if any of this true, if any of this is true, like it's bigger than finding out that the Earth revolved around the sun instead of the other way around, right? It proves the existence of non-human intelligence.
Yeah,
It proves the interaction of those intelligence with humanity. It proves that we probably retrieved artifacts and who knows what through those encounters.
yeah,
And it probably proves that we're reverse engineering some of the stuff that we got from them and that can transform humanity's
yeah,
destiny forever, right?
yeah.
So this is like a really, really big deal. Plus, it has been hidden for 70 plus years, which is in itself mind blowing. And some people say, like, it's a national security issue, right? That we have to keep this secret. But I would argue like the opposite, right? It's a national security issue that we release this to the public because there's a group of people who have been sort of holding this back for whatever reason. Maybe it's too weird. Maybe, like you say, it has to do with their Christian upbringing or because of the Cold War or whatever it is. But by now, if you keep a secret for 70 years and it has this power, this potential to transform humanity in ways that we can't imagine, and you give it to a small group of people to keep that secret,
Yeah.
Every person, even a 3-year kid, can imagine that these people will run away with it, right? They
Personally,
national.
I don't think it's any of those. I think it's just their egos. They want to know more than others, they want to be better than others, so that's what they're doing. And in their mind, everyone else in the world is stupid except these people, so that's why they don't want to take it out. But the thing is, if there are UFOs, they are just assuming that they are flying over US, but that's not true. UFOs are everywhere. There are a bunch of Indian reports I see. I can speak Hindi as well, right? So
Yeah.
I know a lot of
You speak different languages.
yeah, I speak multiple languages. So Hindi, yeah, like in India, a lot of the people, especially the people who are working for their aerospace department, who also landed their uh, rover on the moon now. So I was listening to one podcast over there, and the person who was the main scientist said that, yeah, there are a lot of weird things going on, and he 100% believe there are UFOs, and he said that that's all I can say. But yeah, UFOs are there, and there is a possibility of aliens.
Well, I want to highlight a little bit more of Need to Know because the next part is really sort of mind blowing. It's a little bit longer than the previous one, so bear with me.
Go ahead.
Um, let's see, where is it? Because it's always a little bit searching in all these different. I
Yeah.
think it's this one. You want to say something?
Yeah, I'll. You can find. Did you find it or no?
Yeah, I found it.
Okay,
Yeah,
just play it
this one.
first.
Don't mind. I mean, I actually have a huge respect for any military person who's basically saying that national security could be compromised. Maybe they know something that we don't, and we need to accept and acknowledge that. Maybe there is something we don't know that would explain why very senior people are saying it would jeopardize national security to reveal this. But why lie? Why deliberately mislead the American public? Why corrode the belief in the Defense Department? Why undermine public faith in institutions by continuing to perpetuate the notion that there is no evidence of non-human intelligence? Because frankly, there is evidence. I know that's a flat-out lie. It's a complete lie. Now, whether that evidence is credible, certainly the Inspector General thinks it's credible because he's referred it to the Senate for investigation. And what I don't understand, what I truly do not get, is the cognitive dissonance between what's happening right now in Congress, where you have people of the reputation and distinguished service of Chuck Schumer, the Senate Majority Leader, who are basically giving credibility to the possibility of a non-human intelligence by proposing amending legislation to the National Defense Authorization Act and the Intelligence Authorization Act that talks about a non-human intelligence. There is absolutely no way that senior congressional leaders would be talking about this stuff unless they knew there was something to it. And more importantly, if the White House wasn't already involved, which I know for a fact it is. There are people in the White House that are across this issue. And so when Shellenberger, as he's written in this superb article, when he's basically gone comprehensively through, and I mean, there's stuff in here which took my breath away. He flatly alleges, for example, that there has been a successful reverse engineering of a triangle-shaped craft with unconventional propulsion. I've never alleged that. I've never heard that from my sources, but this is really interesting. This is going one step further than what I've heard. Yes, he's also talked about contact and collaboration with non-human intelligences, which David Grusch referred to in his interview with me, agreements. There's also active and ongoing government disinformation operations, true. Kinetic military action with UAPs, yes, tick, we've also talked about that on this show. The testing of materials obtained for retrieved craft, yes. And then he's also specifically mentioned reverse engineering programs by the US, Russian and Chinese governments. So it's really interesting to hear that Michael and his colleagues are getting independent corroboration of this from their own sources, as am I.
Hey, I can't hear you.
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
Yeah, that was me putting off my mic.
No worries.
So this is sort of some of the new evidence that came out from these testimonies by these 30 or 50 some people who are working on these projects, who have given testimony. But also, you know, what we just mentioned with national security, you know, why the secrecy, and also the damage that the secrecy is doing to society, right? Because basically, the more secrets you keep, and the longer you keep them, you know, the bigger they get, and the more corrosive they become for society as a whole. I mean, that also feeds is one of my theories. It feeds into this fourth turning thing that we're going through, right? Where all our sort of institutions, the democracy itself, is being undermined by keeping this locked up, like it's festering, right?
Yeah, exactly. And then while we're just talking about US, everybody is ignoring, which I was ignoring too, the Mexican alien mummies.
Ah, yes.
Because initially I thought they are just joke, but then, and I probably previously said that I don't trust Mexican government, which is true. But what happened, they did proper MRIs and they released the proper report, which I saw, and it shows that these bodies are intact. It wasn't joined. So originally Mick West, which people know that I really hate. He debunked these mummies in 2015 and called them that they are made of human kids, so they are separate parts, and he just hoaxed all of it and he joined them, and that was the debunking, and that story got wiped out. But then this guy who have a history of exaggeration, which is fine, people exaggerate, I exaggerate myself, but yeah, he brought that to the Mexican government. And again, when you bring anything to any government, there is a chance if you try to scam the government, they will put you in jail. So he put himself in that position, and then he did MRIs and all the x-rays, whatever the process scientists can do in Mexico. They released the report, and now we know that all the debunking was wrong. They are real bodies, not made, not, they were not joined. Now NASA came out and said, okay, even if we take them, why don't they make samples? What do you mean by make the samples? If you send sample, it means you're breaking the body. You don't want to break the body. This is an artifact. If you want to do research, send your scientist in Mexico, let them analyze. They will let you analyze. They already made it public that we are open for other scientists to come and analyze these bodies, but their demand is like, send us the sample. It is
Yeah.
impossible to send the sample if it means you're breaking the artifact. They are not going to do that. And they are giving the example of moon rocks, that when they went to the moon, they send the sample of a moon rock to every country. They are two separate things. Moon rocks were already separate. They brought bunch of moon rock. These are two fully intact bodies. They cannot send you a sample.
Okay, yeah, I was curious what you thought about it. I was sort of skeptical, but I do think like what you said, like if it's, why, if you're skeptical, why not go there and check it out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
what is there to lose? It's sort of, what we talked about last time with Neil deGrasse Tyson and sort of his interaction or the response by Avi Loeb on his assertion, like, he's only talking about science, he's not doing science, right?
Yeah.
I mean, these
But
people are talking about it, but they're asking impossible demands. Why don't they just fly over there and see if it's real, right?
And after that, Neil deGrasse Tyson have changed their opinion for these bodies. That was surprising to me. He was like, "Yeah, Mexican. This guy did the right thing. He took it to the scientist over there. He took it to the government, and this news is publicly out." So he is not skeptical. He is just saying that I want more people to do peer research review. But until this time, whatever happened is the right way of doing it. Make it public, show it to the scientists, and just let the news roll out and let people decide. So here's a stance. When previously he was debunking everything, is changed, and he said this is the right scientific way of doing that.
Yeah, which is the good way, right? Of course, that's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm still sort of skeptical. I mean, it could be true, right? But I don't understand sort of the immediate ridicule that people have when somebody puts himself out there. I mean, I know the guy did, like you already mentioned, he put something forward before, which was sort of, I think, this
No,
one.
he was exaggerated. It was the same thing. So in
How was the
this
same
guy,
thing?
it's these bodies, he put that out in the news in 2015. And then Mick West said that these bodies are not real. They were made of human children's. So they
Okay.
are not, so different human bones of human children, they combined and made these bodies.
But wasn't it also the one who sort of came up with a sort of mummified body and said this was found at Roswell or whatever? Or
No, I think that, yeah, he did not hoax it. That one, I think he just exaggerated this. But these are the mummies he
Mm.
found, which he was talking in 2015. He was exaggerating at that time, but and he was making up the
Well,
stories. But the thing is, I'm also kind of, I'm not like 100% believer on that, because I don't believe that aliens are going to be this small for some reason.
well,
The size
because
is my question. Yeah.
I did have this one ready for you because I was curious about what you thought about it. And now that you mentioned this one, I also have this one, and you're probably also familiar with this one.
Let's see.
Uh, let's see where I got it. Yes.
Yeah,
Here
that
it
looks
is.
fake. That looks so fake.
So this was the Atacama alien skeleton. It was like a big deal with Stephen Greer. And now you know Stephen Greer is also about exaggeration and.
Oh, okay. I don't trust Stephen Greer.
But anyway, he had I think I forgot the first name, but Nolan is like also very sort of pretty famous within the UAP field. He's also been interviewed in different places, and he did sort of the DNA analysis on this body. And he had like a big row with Stephen Greer because Greer sort of accused him of taking a bribe and then sort of dismissing his earlier findings. And then sort of and basically the conclusion was that this body looks like that because of being very unfortunate and getting almost every possible birth defect that is possible in order to look like that. So that was Nolan's final conclusion, and that's sort of the official. Yeah,
That's that's an explanation, but I don't see that kind of birth defects on humans.
yeah.
It is possible, but yeah. The thing is, Stephen Greer is not hoaxing anything, but yeah, he does exaggerate stuff. Like he have also a history of that. But again, he's doing a favor to the world because he's trying to bring things out.
True.
But this body, I don't know. This photo looks fake to me. I've never seen this body.
Oh,
yeah.
I'll link it down below, and I'll send you.
Yeah,
Also
I have to do more research. But yeah, again, I know one thing. Stephen Greer is a smart guy. He's not gonna put out something fake. He knows that because all the eyes in the world are Stephen Greer because he's dealing with thousands of UFO guys and over 600 people in his team are from military. So he knows that just one misstep can destroy him. So he's very careful. I don't think he will put something out. And the finding of that person, it's a good way to debunk something that's a birth defect. But why did you come to that conclusion? Unless the DNA is same as human, then we can say. If the DNA is same as humans, then that's a whole different story. Then you can believe. But if there is like some difference in the DNA, then yeah, you can't say that that's a human.
Yeah, I'll try to find the video because at some point Greer did a very, very good presentation on it, and at least on his side of the story of what happened, and then that's a very interesting watch. I'll try to locate it if I can find it. And so yeah, the Atacama, that was the Atacama skeleton. That was I forgot, it was like 10 years ago or something. But we just mentioned NASA, and NASA is also starting to look into UAPs. They did a sort of a press briefing, and then they didn't want, they wanted to promote transparency, and then they didn't want to say who was leading the charge of this investigation, and then eventually they had to sort of reveal who it was, which was kind of silly.
NASA briefing about the UAP was very like there was no conclusion in that, right? So they said, yeah, they are not UFOs, but we don't know what they are. Okay, then you can't say they are not UFOs, right?
Yeah.
And then they said we need more research on that. Yes, we need to do more research. We need more data. But again, you can't deny something, right? And this is a phenomena which has been recorded by many. And one thing I'm noticing, more and more videos of UFOs are coming on Twitter. A lot of them are cell phone, but I see that people okay, even if it's AI, but what I'm saying, like those videos look real because AI video have something. When I see AI video, I can see that okay, this is fake. AI videos are not that intelligent right now. AI photos are, but their videos are not that good. What they can do, like sometimes people just shoot something and then they add these lights in Photoshop or not Photoshop or in Premiere or After Effects. This is possible, but the amount of the things which are coming is something to take a note of. I'm not saying I believe on those videos, but I'm not denying without a proof.
Yeah, and we're gonna show a little clip of Need to Know in a
podcast.
moment,
Yeah.
because that watch the whole thing, because the whole thing is absolutely great. They're sort of talking about wordplay and how these different institutions like NASA and the Pentagon are playing word games with us by sort of suggesting something and then people taking it at face value because but when you read it like a lawyer, they're actually sort of not saying what you think they're saying. They're actually saying something else entirely. And NASA is, of course, famous for never giving a straight answer, which is, their abbreviation.
Yeah. Also, speaking of exaggeration, NASA have exaggerated a lot of the thing, and they actually hoax a lot of the things. Like a lot of the photos of Earth, they are fake. I'm
And
not
the
saying,
planets.
yeah, but the photos and the whole Mars photos, we all know that they put an orange filter on that when there is no orange atmosphere over there, and then somebody color corrected it and the photos look totally different. So NASA have a history of exaggeration.
Yeah, and on top of that, so what NASA did in that report that they brought out was that they only looked at the evidence from scientific peer-reviewed papers. That was the only sort of thing that they looked at, and on basis of that, they said that there's no conclusive evidence. But when you look at NASA's history,
Yeah.
you got like multiple astronauts, like Edgar Mitchell, and you had countless
Yeah.
other astronauts who came back and gave testimony on record, which you can just see for yourself, that they have been followed, that they're they saw all these traces, that they even saw on whatever. So these are NASA astronauts reporting firsthand encounters with really strange things, and on top of that, you got all these sightings done by their cameras out in space that are suddenly you got the feed that stops. There's countless examples of feed malfunctions when something drifts into a few. So NASA has like a ton of evidence, right? So
Yeah. Also, like a lot of the time, NASA. So there are a lot. I don't know they're real videos or hoax, but there are a lot of videos from NASA feed because they have a live cam in their satellite up there. So a lot of the time when there's something weird started to happen, they turn off their feed and
or
then
they switch
reopen
to
it.
another one.
Yeah. And a
Yeah.
lot of the time, like people have noticed, okay, look, there's something moving, and suddenly the feed is off.
Yeah. I'll try to link some of that stuff down below.
Yeah.
But what you need to know, because they actually totally roast NASA as is the right thing to do, because they're totally disingenuous.
Yeah.
And I want to sort of take this, and then we're going to talk a little bit about it, and then we're going to go to the Sumerian Stargates.
Okay. All right.
It matters as an election issue is because even though you've got an ongoing investigation by the Inspector General of the intelligence community, even he can't dig into where a lot of this is allegedly being hidden. And this is something Michael raises in his superb article. The Department of Energy, a lot of these legacy programs are alleged to sprawl far beyond Thomas Monheim's remit, says Michael Shellenberger, inside DOD, but in particular inside the Department of Energy, which has its own classification and security system. And frankly, that's a tough nut to crack. The only organizations that can crack that are arguably the Senate Intelligence Committee, or possibly more broadly, a proper church committee style investigation that has the full power of congressional subpoena. That's why this matters, because there are people, gatekeepers inside the community, in the intelligence and defense community, and also in private aerospace, and they're nervous. They're nervous because we're close, for the first time in 50 or 60 years, we're closer to uncovering this secret than ever before. But they're anxiously trying to put it all back in a box.
Yeah, so again, this interview or this need to know is like watch it. It keeps you up to date on these situations, on these issues. And Ross Coulthard has a lot of sources and a lot of experience and an incredible reputation. But he raises a really good point, and that's something that we also mentioned in our first show. And that is that a lot of this stuff has been hidden under the Atomic Energy Act of 1954. And I'm going to read it to you here. So the Atomic Energy Act of 1954, as amended, is a United States law that is the basis for the classification of nuclear weapons-related information as restricted data or data, and information transclassified from the RD category. The act was passed on August 30, 1954, and amended the Atomic Energy Act of 1946. And a lot of these flying saucers, or whatever they are, they often say anti-gravity, new propulsion system. So they kind of used these laws back then to sort of hide all this stuff and keep it from prying eyes and FOIA requests, and to keep it off the record. And this is why it's probably located in the Department of Energy, which is very interesting. And of course, a big deal, because it kind of means that they can't get to it if they are looking in the wrong place in the first place.
Yeah, but the thing about Nuclear Act of 1954, at that time only US have the nukes, no one else have the technology. But right now every other country have the nuke technology. They don't even make bombs, but everybody is using nuclear technology to generate energy. So the act should be changed. The things are not the same as 1954. Russia have more powerful bombs than US. This is a fact.
So
They are number one in nuclear technology.
I totally agree. And their nuclear infrastructure for enriching and what's the opposite of enriching uranium? They have that from the Soviet period. They are sort of number one when it comes to nukes and uranium processing plants and all that kind of stuff. The knowledge and the know-how and the infrastructure.
Yeah.
I think it's even that like 50% of America's nuclear power is sort of supplied, of the uranium is supplied by through Russia, or it's 30%, something like that.
I have no idea about that, but
yes.
that's what I know. And then there is a big black market going on all over the world, where, because people need to understand, uranium is available. It's a mineral, right? It's available everywhere in the world. You just need to find it on Earth. There are like bunch of people in India, they got caught selling uranium tablets in the black market, and they were not even using anything. They were just wearing normal Indian dress, not dress, like whatever the clothes they wear, and then they were holding a tablet made of uranium, and they got caught.
Yeah. Wow.
So
Yeah.
people, it's so common to do that kind of trade in black market. So the point is, I don't think UFOs and nuclear technology have something in common. The only relation which I see is that a lot of the UFOs have been recorded flying over the nuclear facilities. Other than that, I don't see any relation between them.
True. And then about that, there's this amazing book, UFOs and Nukes, which is a classic, and it sort of talks about UFOs interacting with nuclear facilities, turning nuclear missiles on and off at a distance, and having encounters with countless people on those bases. And it's very interesting, that sort of connection there. But regardless if they fly on nuclear energy, I agree with you. I think it's something else entirely, probably anti-gravity or whatever it is. But it is energy, right? It's some kind of energy, so it's kind of logical that you would hide it on an in the Department of Energy, because one of the things that Stephen Greer rightly points out, right? If any of this is true, and we have every reason to think it is true, because there's mountains of evidence. It would revolutionize our energy situation, right? It would solve basically the environment issues in immediately. So and it would,
this is the right analysis, because we don't want to solve those issues, because these companies makes their money because we have those crises. If you solve those crises, they won't make their money. That's the whole game.
Yeah. Plus, it gives you a huge advantage, right? If you have access to superior technology or energy. So anyway, so that's a separate issue. We're gonna talk about the second part of the Sumerian Stargates, or portals, as you like to call them. So again, we highlighted that you speak different languages, and you also have a different cultural background, of course. And when you were talking to me, like, a few weeks ago, you sort of mentioned the fact that that gave you sort of an edge or an advantage in this field, because a lot of this stuff, they speak freely and openly in different cultures, but in the Western world, there's this sort of stigma, ridicule, but also the language barrier, right? And nobody speaks Arabic or Indian, an Indian dialect, or Chinese or Russian, right? So all the stuff that is, behind that language barrier is either inaccessible or, very difficult to read.
Yeah. So it's okay. So basically I'm from, my background is from Pakistan. So I'm not very fluent in Arabic, but I can read it. I can just hear and understand a little bit of Arabic. But the thing is, Pakistan is like a border between India and the Middle East. So we have both cultures going on, and a lot of the translation, there are like a lot of people in Pakistan, their hobby or their job is just to translate Arabic things into Urdu, just to document everything. That's why the biggest data regarding religion other than Arabic is in Urdu language, because people just spend all their life towards that, and then they communicate very well with Arabic journalists, and that's how we get all the news, and then it got to other places from there. So yeah, a lot of the people over there just did so much research on that regarding Iraq war, because Americans had a different view, but rest of the world know that there is something going on with Iraq war, because it has nothing, there was no reason for that war. Killing Saddam Hussein, yeah, he was a very bad man, and I support killing him and everything, but the war was not necessary, and people were lied into that. The conspiracy at that time was US was after their oil, and that was not true, because they didn't take the oil. They did go there, they've spent a lot of years over there for no reason, and then they left. The only thing they did is to take those Sumerian tablets. So
Okay.
yeah, yeah, and that's like a documented thing. They took a epic
Yeah,
of
but for
Gilgamesh.
the people who don't know, we linked all that stuff. I'll relink it underneath this video, but we went through all the tablets. But you can give sort of the short version. But there's like a ton of tablets that were looted, and other artifacts that were looted.
Yeah,
Tens of
thousands of
thousands.
tablets. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they took all those tablets which had cuneiforms, which were originally translated by Zacharias Sitchin, who came up with this story of Anunnakis who came from the 10th planet, and they created humans. They experimented on the primate and created humans, and their planet was in trouble. They needed gold from our planet. And then the whole idea of planet Tiamat, which is between Mars and Jupiter, which was there, and then it got destroyed during the war.
Can I
And now,
interrupt you
yeah,
here? Is that like literally what he translated, or was that his interpretation of
it
what he
was his
translated?
interpretation.
Okay.
Yeah, so there are multiple translations. There's like a god view. The story is the same in the literal translation. The thing is, they are not aliens, they are the god, they created humans. But then he was the first person who could read cuneiform, because there is no dictionary, and they are not like Egyptian pictures that you can imagine something. They are like actual writing. So the translation, what he did, he just attributed to the aliens. Everything else, all other translation are just attributing towards the god. The stories are the same.
But
So
the
there
the
is a
fact.
story of Tiamat. Yeah, the story
Yeah,
of
yeah,
them.
yeah.
They,
So with the stars and that stuff, that's all in
y-
what he
yeah,
translated, like
yeah,
literally.
and then they actually draw the solar system photo. That was
Yeah.
that was the reason he called it the 10th planet. Sorry, 12th planet. His book is called 12th planet.
And that's Planet X.
That planet X is their planet, and it has an elliptical orbit, which I
Well,
think
that's putting it mildly, because it sort of swirls outside of our solar system and then comes back in. If I
yeah,
if I understand correctly.
yeah, and it's like 3,500 years of orbit.
Yeah, it's a slight orbit. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a very, but yeah, I'm not saying I believe in that. What I'm saying, that is, that was his translation. And one thing which was mentioned in his translation, that there was a war and there was a planet between Mars and Jupiter got destroyed. Now we see an asteroid belt. If you combine all that, like asteroids and like the whole debris, you will make a planet over there.
Yeah,
So
so the debris belt between Jupiter and Mars,
yeah,
that might have been a planet at one point.
yeah. So which we can see. Okay, some science say that was supposed to be a planet, but it didn't make. And the story in Anunnakis are that they destroyed it. They had a war.
Oh, and sort of, because right now a lot of these scientists are looking again at Mars. They're looking again at Venus, at many of these planets, and some are coming to the conclusion that in Europa and many other moons, that there's life, that there might be life, or there might have been life, or there is some kind of life forms existing or have existed at these places, even water. So they're sort of coming around to a lot of stuff that they said, like 10 to 50 years ago would have been impossible to
Yeah.
even claim.
Yeah. And then the portal technology, people need to understand, is not something impossible, because like it is possible to open gate from one place to another. Mathematically, wormholes are possible. And then you can include some kind of teleportation, which matches, if you can go and understand quantum entanglement, where one part of electron is one place on other place, and you have the same attribution towards that, and somehow you can manage that technology, you can go from one place to another place just by walking into a door.
And those are those Sumerian Stargates that
Stargates,
you're talking
Stargate.
about.
It's not just Sumerian, because Stargates, like portals, let's just use a bigger terminology, which is portals. It's not just mentioned in Stargate, like in Sumerian technology. It was mentioned in a lot of other religious texts from different part of the world. We see Iraq right now and Saudi Arabia as like one Arab thing, like Arabian Peninsula, but in back in the days, they were two separate countries, separate organization. Because of our modern technology, we can go from one place to another place very fast, but back in the day it took months to go from one place to another. And then, so it evolved differently, other than the Arabian culture, and Islam is from that part, right? Arab.
Mhm.
So they also have the mentions of the stories before Prophet Muhammad, like the other prophets, like the story of Enoch and Noah. For example, the Noah, right? Prophet Noah, who brought the whole
With the boy.
uh, uh, the flood, big flood, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's mentioned in other things, but one thing people realize, that his age, which is 900 years, it's impossible in our eyes, right? Nobody can live 900 years. What Islamic research says, that he was not on earth for those 900 years. He was going to different planets through portal technology, and that time took 900 years, because there is a time dilation when he goes from one planet to another. The time is different from that. So if he's spending 1 year over there, it is it it's like 10 years or 100 years over here. So for the
The sort
people
of the
in,
time travel
yeah,
aspect.
yeah, the time dilation, right? One
Yeah.
planet have different, like the size is different, and
But,
1 year over there is 10 years over here.
wait, 1 second. Are you saying that Arabic texts, like ancient Arabic texts, are talking about this stuff that you're now talking about?
Yeah, but it's not in that words. The modern interpretation of those Arabic old stories is like that. That because there is a mention that Noah was going to different places, and then more people were not able to understand, because they, at that time, people didn't even know what planets were or everything. But the new new scholars. One I like, his name is Sahil Adib. This is his research, and it's very profound. Like, he made all the connections over there. So this is his research, that he was going to different places, and he just shows the word of portal in Quran, that this is, you were reading it wrong, that was mentioning the portal over there. And so these were the things which are over there. And Noah was going to one place to another. The reason for that 900 years. And one more thing, he only had one wife and and children, the same children, for that 900 years period,
Yeah. So that
right?
must have
So
been
he was
too
going all those places with his family. Whenever he's going there and coming back, it takes 50 years from this or and those places. At the end of the day, he had to close all the portals. And one thing, he also, Islamic tradition mentioned that water came from the sky, the doors were opened. So it wasn't just like that water, where it came from and where it go. It wasn't just rain, because rain only happened in our ecosystem. To create that kind of flood, you need water from somewhere else. So at the end of the day, when God decided to destroy the world, he opened ga- portals in the sky, and water started pouring from there,
Hmm.
from different places. And then once the flood was over, that water was gone. So this
Well,
is the modern research which is being done over there regarding portals using Islamic text.
yeah, and then of course with AI, even though when they invaded Iraq, AI wasn't that advanced yet, at
Yeah,
least officially.
yeah.
You could of course translate cuneiform tablets, with ease.
Well, yeah, very easy. Yeah, with AI, it's very easy. But even if you don't, there is like a proper dictionary out. They have
Yeah,
all the symbols, so you can literally do it by your hand. Or
true.
there are softwares where you just type into something, it will just do it for you.
True, true. Yeah, but it's sort of the amount of cuneiform tablets that they sort of took from Iraq. If
It's thousands.
this thesis is correct, right? We don't know. This is speculation. But
So yeah, so what
so so
the
that
whole,
amount and it's sort of the aggregation of data and then looking or searching through that data, then an AI would be very handy.
yeah, and people need to understand, Saddam Hussein was calling himself the reincarnation of Nebuchadnezzar, who brought the kingdom of Sumeria to the world. He became the number one king of the world. Uh, he took some
Yeah.
prophets, I think, the three wise men, not the wise men, but three main
Yeah.
saints from
Yeah,
the
yeah, got the
Israel. He
Babylonian
brought,
Talmud.
brought them
Yeah.
to Babylon and then put them into a portal as well. That's the story in the Bible, that he put them through fire, which was for portal, and they walked into that and came out fine. That's a whole miracle over there. People can go and read into that. But what the modern interpretation, like what the impression he was giving, that he was so much into that, and he have uncovered some secrets. So that was the intelligence news going on all over the world about Saddam Hussein, not in America, but I was a kid at that time. But this was, I was hearing on the news that this is happening in Urdu language.
Yeah.
Anyway,
And
they,
also, I mean, in that same sort of theme, right? We now have LiDAR and a
yeah,
lot of other very interesting technologies that allow you to sort of look under the ground, at least to some level, and it
yeah,
allows them to find hidden temples in the Amazon and other places that were, hidden for ages, right?
yeah,
For millennia. So we're at a moment in time that we can sort of puzzle together our ancient past that would have been impossible even 10 years ago or 20 years ago.
yeah.
And so the question is, what is actually hidden in our past? And I think that's a whole separate uh, episode.
So no,
episode.
the idea for them is that when those aliens or those gods, ancient gods, left the planet, they left the doors on Earth, which were, so I'm gonna jump back to the Islamic history again, where there's a story of two people who closed those doors. One name is Zulkarnain, and other is King Solomon. So
Hmm.
they closed all the doors. And King Solomon, we know the story from the Bible, but Islamic story is that, plus he was fighting with demons and going to other things. And he was the final person who closed the doors, closed all the portals. And then he said, one day those
Can
doors
I
will be
ask
open again.
you,
Yeah.
what is the word that they use to describe portals? I mean, why did this researcher come to the conclusion that it must have been a portal, or or
No,
could have been?
barriers. So the actual translation of those words is barriers.
Hmm.
So more, and then I'm calling them portals, but the word is uh, Arabic word just skipped my mind. Is anyway the translation of that word is like he created the barriers, and it's the way it is used is not regarding the physical barriers, more like an energy barriers. So the actual translation of that is that word sababa. The Arabic word is sababa.
Uh-huh.
And that, and the funny thing is, old translation when they were doing, in some places the same word was translated as a mountain, and some places it was translated as a barrier. So people,
Hmm.
but people back in the days, like 500 years ago, when they were doing actual translation, they didn't know the scientific concepts, so they cannot relate. Once you don't have anything to relate, you will just relate to something you know. But with
Well,
modern technology, it
because
is like that.
mountains play a very important role in religions, right? Often they are the center, the gateway to heaven or contact with heaven.
Mountains are, and one of
Yeah.
the instruction, because religion also predict the future, right? In the end, the prediction is antichrist when it will take over. The instruction for the Muslims are, do not fight him, run towards the mountain. There's like a whole chapter about that.
Yeah.
And then go and recite that chapter, and that will bring you, that will take you to the place. And again, even in the antichrist time, it's mentioned that he will open portals, one for the hell and one for the heaven and stuff. So portals are full over there. And then the other character which is mentioned, his name is Zulkarnain. People can't identify him historically, but my opinion, it is referred to Gilgamesh, which is Epic of Gilgamesh. But people have different interpretation. His thing is like he went to the place where sun goes to die in a
Mhm.
dark sand, not a sand, like dark clay, which is like a black hole. And
Mhm.
he found a planet over there, and he protected the people of that planet from another race of people who come through the portals and attacking them. And he closed the portal of there, he created a barrier over there. And then after that he went to another place which was in the birthplace of the suns,
Yeah,
which is
and you
like
also
nebula.
okay in the Norse mythology. You have the sky bridge, the rainbow bridge that sort of
Yeah,
takes you from
yeah.
Bifrost, I think it's called.
Bifrost.
Yeah, Bifrost. Yeah,
Yeah,
and so yeah, there's a lot of that. Do you also have like the link, or is it in another language? This research.
it's in another language, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
so this is one of these barriers that I'm totally unfamiliar with this. This is
I
like the
think
first time that I
what this
hear it.
guy is doing, he's trying to translate it in English, but
You should.
if I when he get it done, I will send you the link. The thing is, he's mixing a lot of the things. People need to know the history of, first they need to understand the religion, and then he relate everything through the verses and everything, so it's hard to understand. But if I get, when he's done with his translation, I will send you guys. But right now it's only in Urdu language, but
Okay.
it's like a very good word by word interpretation that this is how it's mentioned. And then the aliens were mentioned in that when he went to the places of nebula, there were other people who did not have protection from the sun, so they did not have like ozone layer or something, so he created a layer to protect them from the sun. The people at that time, they didn't know where the place where the sun dies or where the sun born, so they took it for sunset and sunrise. But now we understand, we have nebulas where you can have people who don't have protection, so he created. And then his argument was, the people who translated before that it's a place of sunrise, there is no place on earth where people don't have protection from sun. We have protection everywhere. And Muslims believe that Quran, every word in Quran is correct, not a lie. So he said
Yeah.
the only place it could happen is a different place. And in there, the word sababa he was using was specifically for the portals. The actual translation of it, not the interpretation, but the actual translation is like the barriers which are there. He opens it and he closes those barriers. So these are the things which are mentioned in those languages. So from the religious point of view, portals are a very common thing.
So and so if it's true, right? It's again it's speculation. So maybe the Americans went in there with expectations to get hold of one of those
So
portals or multiple portals with instructions on how to use
yeah,
it, and
and
then
I'm not
jump
saying
to
there
other
were
planets.
instructions there. The thing is, people, the CIA feared that that technology was there, and they need to take that out if that's there. Because if Saddam Hussein, who was a vicious dictator, if he get the
Yeah,
power of the portals and he can control armies from other world,
yeah.
then it's impossible to destroy him. So they went in. The first thing they took is like first thing they did, kill him, took out thousands. Like I think the number is 30,000 tablets they took
Yeah.
out, including Epic of Gilgamesh, which is like the first written text in the world. So they took out that tablet too, and then they are returning Epic of Gilgamesh because it's just a story. But a lot of the secret tablets which they stole, they are not going to return it, and they are still doing research on this. Some of them
No,
are in Israel as well. Some of them are in US.
and of course the official stories it's just looters. There was chaos, so people took stuff, and there's a lot of demand for ancient artifacts, which is of course all true.
No, but that's not even the official story. Official story is they took it, and there is a
Oh,
video. That's why they are returning it. There's
oh,
like a
okay,
big, yeah. So official story is they claim that they took all those things. They
to
are saying that
safeguard
we took it because we want to protect the art.
it. That's so
But
noble.
yeah, but even the official story is that they took all those tablets.
But there's also a lot of looting that went on, by other parties, which came on the black
Yes, of
market,
course,
and
ISIS
yeah,
destroyed a lot of the things and all those things. I understand, which is good they took it, but what I'm saying that the whole fear of them was that Saddam Hussein cannot take that kind of
yeah,
technology. If
and
he, and I understand, like if personally me, I don't want a dictator like that to have that kind of power. We will be in big trouble.
yeah,
So
but
that's why I supported them in Iraq War.
yeah, but basically you don't want anybody to have this kind of power,
Yeah,
and of
nobody
course
should.
they would in their minds, right? If any of this is actually true, it would also allow them not only to jump to other times and planets and stuff, but also actually to meet our makers,
Yeah, exactly.
right?
Time travel is a whole different thing, but yeah, going to different places in space is possible.
Wow, this is like really wild. I never, I never really, looked into this whole Anunnaki stuff, and Sitchin was always a little bit like a third rail for me. So I always stayed away from it, but I really enjoyed this sort of two-part series, and I'm pretty sure it will come back at some
It will
point.
come back, yeah.
Yeah, because somehow it sort of keeps coming back. And I know it's not only Sitchin, like tons of other people, and also many recent. I do know that some people also in the West are also sort of revisiting Sitchin, and I think I didn't watch it completely, but there's one video that was really good about people sort of looking at looking again at his translation, and verifying his translation, and what I saw from that, I didn't see it completely, was that his translation wasn't bonkers or crazy.
Yeah, no, I think translation is 100% correct. It's
Yeah,
just association of those things.
yeah,
Everybody, like all the events are mentioned on those tablets in Zechariah session happened. Just like one is saying they are aliens, other is saying it happened before the creation of men and they were gods.
yeah, and then and also one of the things that many with enlightenment, and there was like a lot of sort of pushback against religion, because religion is stuffed with crazy miracles, crazy encounters, crazy hard to interpret events, beings of all kinds, and basically all kinds of superstition, as they called in the enlightenment, and we only want rationality. And
Yeah.
then all this stuff was swiped under the carpet, and basically ridiculed from the 17th century onwards. And of course, there were large pockets where it lived and kept living, and that's, I think, another episode that we can sort of do. And it's probably very much alive even in the West as we speak.
Just want to say one thing about the criticism on religion. I think it's correct because it's not the fault of religion, it's the fault of the people who hold the religion, who are the custodian of the religion. They used religion for their own benefit. So, and then they mold the stories because they wanted money and they want to control people. They had the control. They still have control on many countries, like church or mosque are still in power in many places. So it's that
But
just because the people who were holding or the custodians or the religious scholars they are bad, that doesn't mean religion is wrong. They are two separate things. You need to differentiate between the text and the people who are interpreting it.
true. But there is a lot of strange stuff in religious text. I mean, I've read a lot of them, and you, I imagine you have read even more. My background is in philosophy and cultural anthropology, so especially for cultural anthropology. But I always had like a fascination for religion, so I read a lot of these texts, and there's a lot of passages that are hard to make sense of or to interpret, or are completely off the wall. Encounters with strange beings. Like sometimes it's like some of these texts or some of these passages in text can sometimes read like somebody had like a psychedelic experience or was completely off the world or something.
Exactly. And I think all religions have some real stories in there. All of them have been diluted by the wrong people who took over, but there is something truth in that. It could be just by aliens and then people interpreted it as gods. There is something down there. And there were definitely beings because we see similar types of gods in different cultures, which is like if you compare Hindu religion, sorry, I call it a mythology, Hindu religion and the Greek mythology, compare their gods. They are literally the same gods. Like
Yeah.
Zeus over there
Indra,
is very similar to what's his name? It's,
Indra, right?
Indra, yeah, perfect, yeah. Indra and Zeus are the same, and then they have Hades here in India, and they have Yamraj over there, and then they're so similar, and then they are not like the top gods, the creator. They are like the same level
But
because
that's
Zeus is not the creator, right? Zeus is the son of
true.
Kronos, and the same in there that those gods have the top three gods, which are like Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva. So the similarities are the same. And then if you go to New Zealand or the like the New Zealand original people who have, when you look for the artifacts, the gods they have designed are very similar to the Native American gods.
And it's also very interesting because, and that also has to do with Aryan studies, of course. And the Nazis were also extremely interested in all this stuff. That's why they went to Tibet, and were so expensive in the Middle East and stuff. But basically, there's this when sort of the Aryans spread from the steppes and went to Europe, and they went to India, but they also went to Iran. And the funny thing is, or the interesting thing is, that sort of the whole the gods are sort of turned upside down. So what are the gods in India and Europe are the demons in Iran and in so the two streams.
Same with like India and Sri Lanka, because in Sri Lanka they fought Ravan, God Rama fought Ravan, and Ravan is like the hero in Sri Lankan myth, and Rama is the hero in Indian myth. So, but then they have, there is some parallel, and reality is very different than what we know right now. We just have to be open-minded, takes everything, analyze, and do whatever you want. But don't be a closed mind person.
Yeah, well, that's maybe where we can wrap it up, because again, like if something happened in Roswell in like 70 plus years ago, which is incidentally also when the CIA was created afterwards, and what was the other institution? There were two institutions that the Air Force, which sort of the boogeyman in American
Yeah.
When it comes to cover-ups, the Air Force is like, the worst, maybe
Yeah.
even worse than the NASA, but, it's difficult.
Oh, they are definitely worse. Yeah.
But so these two institutions were created after the Roswell incident. And when you look into the Roswell incident, which is another whole episode, at first they did admit that the UFO crashed, like it's like in big chocolate letters all over the newspaper, and then they revised it like the next day. But if you have a secret for 70 plus years, with the implications, with all these implications, it wouldn't be, it does sort of demands from people to have an open mind and to maybe look differently at religion and what we have been taught about religion.
Yeah.
Because, it could have just been different kind of encounters.
Exactly. Just open-minded and see. And I think psychedelic will open your mind. So just see into that too.
True.
Because that opened my mind to everything I know.
And that's another episode that we're going to talk about. And and about sort of the religion and UFO connection. Jacques Vallée wrote Wonders in the Sky, which sort of goes through a lot of these sort of possibly alien encounters, of UFO encounters, or whatever you want to call it, encounters with the unknown. And he sort of categorized them in that book. And some you might think like, maybe stretching it there, but some are, quite convincing, and all of them are weird.
Yeah.
It's well, this was a lot of fun. Again, we do this. We're also linking it back to Bitcoin and crypto. It might seem strange, but we did it in the first episode, and we're also gonna circle back to that in more detail. And we're gonna keep digging into this stuff because it's fun, but also, it's our way to help disclosure. But it's also, just fascinating, all this stuff.
Yep, it is. And nice talking to you again. Have fun.
Yeah.
Peace.
Take care, everybody.